What's going on, guys? Ken here from Ken V's Journal. I want to show you guys our plant nursery this morning, alright? So let's go upstairs and let's check it out. Come with me. So here you have it, guys. Beginning of many plants. We've got a lot of plants here, as you can see. Some old, some new with the family. So I think we should just get right into it. First, we have here snake plant, and I believe this is related, or this is the Laurenti snake plant. This is the second season or second year, or maybe third year since we and I had this snake plant. This plant is pretty much indestructible. You do your research, you'll notice that it doesn't need much water. It can thrive on direct light, indirect light, no light at all. I want to say no light at all, but this plant is pretty much indestructible. You can see here we have new babies. Spring is coming up soon, so that's a good sign for this plant. This here, I actually bought this from Home Depot. It's one of the exotic, I think it's, yeah, the exotic angel plant collection. I think it's a Sandarina. I think Sandarina is the family, but I'm not sure the name of the plant exactly. But I saw it, it was pretty. You can see the nice pretty leaves. Here I have some cuttings. This is called the Cyanotis, Somalanius, or Somalanisis. I'm not sure, but it's also called the kitten ears. I just got some cuttings. I actually got this from Maine, and you know it's not doing well, but there's some growth there. There's some growth going on. Let's move on to the next one. Here we have another cactus. I also bought this cactus from Home Depot. Not sure the family really. Possibly it could be a barrel cactus. Correct me on that if I'm wrong. But also got a little something just shoot up from the soil. I'm not sure what that is. Let's stay tuned for that. Next we have our satin pothos. This is a beautiful pothos here. You can see the little gray, spotty, silky looking. It looks kind of glittery to me, or one of those reflective materials. I don't water this plant much either. Pothos are really easy houseplants to take care of. See, it's in a nice, pretty pot. Moving on. Here we have a lacy leaf philodendron. I actually got some cuttings from a very old plant that was given to us, but sadly it died. But luckily for us, we were able to get this cutting. As you can see, it is doing pretty well under the plant light, and it also is blooming a new leaf, which is a good sign. So I'm happy to have this lacy leaf philodendron. On to the next one. Alright, here you have it, guys. This is a spider plant. As you can see here, we're having lots of babies, new and old. I'm not sure why the ends are a little brown, because there's not a lot of heat going here. Possibly the cats have been chewing on it, I'm not sure. That's why I have it so high now, because some of these plants, it's not poisonous to them, but it's actually like, it gives them like it's toxic to them, but it's also, I believe it's hallucinogenic, or it gives them some kind of high. So Cleo especially, she loves the snake plant. But yeah, you can see it's beautiful, beautiful green leaves with the white ends. You know, this plant is thriving pretty well. You can see there's lots of roots going on in there, and I mean it's looking pretty well. I usually would, in this case, I would just leave it for now. I don't see why I should take it out of this pretty pot, right? So yeah, let's move on. We have here, this plant here is called an Art Star. This plant I also got from the Home Depot collection. I believe it was part of the Angel, an exotic plant collection. Not much watering. I don't water it much. I had one of this before and I kind of overwater it and it actually died on us. You know, plant that started wilting. But some parts of the leaves, I believe this plant is better off in medium light, but I have it down on with the plant light here. This plant also comes in many different colors, ruby, pink. I actually tried putting food coloring in the water, and it turned blue last summer. So if you want to give it a try, you know, I don't think it'll be any harm to the plants. Might want to look into that if you have an Earth Star. This plant here, I'm not sure what it is, the name of this plant, but I believe it.
I think it's a peperomia, no?
Might be a pepperoni, you think so? Some kind of succulent, but this was actually a cutting that I got from my office. This is the second year. It wasn't that, there's about maybe 4 leaves grew from this plant. Some of the leaves actually fell off. They're doing pretty well. You can see there's a new leaves about to spring up. It grows pretty fast for a succulent. Where I actually got the cutting, it actually it was actually draping over the plant pot. So this plant is a running plant, or more of a trailing plant. Let's move on. This plant here, I think
It's a little sad.
from the looks of it, this plant is very sad. This is actually one of our recovery plants. I have it under the plant light, hoping I can see new babies springing up. So it's a recovery plant. I think it's gonna recover well. Also, this plant, when it's flourishing well or growing well, you'll notice to see that there's babies growing from the vein, or like the mother or the base root. So you don't see any here now, but it's a matter of time before we have new babies. Here we have some cuttings from a California red tip, succulent of ours. Hey guys, I'm working here. You want to say hello to the camera? Mo, you want to say hello? I decided to just put some cuttings in this pot, and it's been doing pretty well. Here we have another succulent. Definitely not a California red tip, but I'm not sure what family it's from. But as you can see, since being here, there's 2 new shoots coming up. Quite beautiful. If you're noticing why there's a hole here, the light actually was touching the plant. This plastic container, and I was just smelling it, wondering what is that smell? Something is burning, and I found that the light was touching this. Luckily, I was home that day, but yeah, this plant has been doing pretty well. Moving on. Here we have the Christmas cactus. This cactus also blooms flowers. The plant that I got this cutting from is about 15 years old. So luckily for me, I was able to get such big cuttings. But just let me know if there's any better way in like replanting these cuttings, because the plant is so big and it's like drooping over. I'm not sure if that's like good for the plant, but yeah, let me know. Here, this plant here, I believe is called the African milk tree. The upright growing cactus, like succulent, has red, green, and small red leaves on the new growth. I was also doing some research, and this plant is also related to the poinsettia. Interesting fact here. Sure what kind of cactus this is?
It was the red. It was like one of those.
This here?
Yeah.
That's a graft cactus.
Yeah, it's a grafted cactus where the red tip fell off. And it just started growing weird like this.
Really?
Yeah. This is my mom's.
Fun fact there. We've got some cuttings, and I decided to just put it in separate pots. You can see here, this is also the same pot. So you see there's new growth on this cutting here, which is a good sign. You notice here, I'm not sure what cactus this is, but it's not doing so well. It's a little grayish at the bottom, not sure why, but I'm just gonna leave it alone. I don't want to give it any water. Next, I believe this plant here is called the Chrysilla tetragona. I could be wrong. I did some research. The plant did look like a Chrysilla tetragona, but correct me if I am wrong. But also another cutting that I got from a friend of mine. The plant that she had was also about a decade or year old or older. So that was nice of her to give me some cuttings. I think you guys seen pretty much most of my cactus. So yeah, usually the cactus that I have here is either from cuttings or from the Home Depot collection. Usually every Friday they bring in a new batch of plants. So I just go out there, see if there's any interesting plants that we like, and I just grab me some. So yeah, let's move on. Alright, next we have the ZZ plant. This plant, I believe, is also indestructible. I've done some pretty much damage to this plant knowing that it's indestructible. Reason why this happened, it was too close to the light up there, and that light is pushing about 100 watts, so the heat is really strong. So the leaves actually burned, and I later did some research, and it said the ZZ plant can do pretty well under medium to indirect light. So I decided I'd just bring it down here, and it's been doing well ever since. You can see there's 2 new shootings coming up right here. I believe this was last week's shoot, and here this weekend we've got another shoot coming up here. And then there's also another baby one there. Don't want to bother it much. But yeah, let's move on. Well, this plant here is our money plant. You're probably wondering why there's no leaves here. So we actually just moved in here to our new home. And we actually we needed somewhere to put our plants while we were moving our things into our new home. And a family member of mine, I put it in their basement, but it was a little too cold for this money plant especially. So the leaves actually just started falling off, and I was like, oh my god, is this money plant going to die? But luckily for us, it's on a recovery stage. You can see here, there's a new baby shoot growing here. Apparently a new money tree is growing here. So that's pretty impressive to see that. That's a good sign. Moving on. This plant here, I believe is called a sago palm. Also another indestructible plant. I've had this plant maybe about 2 years now, and it has never grown a new leaf. I was doing some research, and it's the plant, they say treat the plant like a cactus, make the soil very dry, well drained. This is also one of our recovery plants. We have this plant here, which is called the soursop plant.
Tree.
Soursop tree. That is actually a tree. Now, this is the fruit of Annonia moricata, broadleaf evergreen tree. The secret to this plant is that it's pretty high in antioxidants. This plant is also known for curing cancer. It's actually known for also lowering blood sugar levels. You can actually use the leaves, dry the leaves out for tea. And this plant also produces a very sweet and rich fruit, a favorite of mine. So yeah, if you haven't heard of that plant, do some research. Called a soursop. Right? Very delicious fruit. I actually just bought this plant this weekend. Now I'm not sure what kind of cactus this is, but you know, I saw this plant and right away I was like, wow, I'm gonna get this plant. You can see here there's quite a lot of new babies growing. I don't even want to repot this plant. You know, I'm just gonna leave it, let it do its thing. Above this cactus, we have this plant here. Most of you guys would know. I believe it's called the Wandering Jew. I've been calling it the Wandering Jew, but this plant is pretty beautiful. Favorite of mine. This plant produces beautiful flowers. You can see here, not sure if you can get it, but they produce beautiful flowers, pink flowers, and this plant also is, they also make, there's also variegated plant for this, which I'm going to show you in a sec. But this plant is also a trailing plant, which I can't wait to happen. So before the summer out, I think this plant is going to get pretty long. Not a lot of watering. I noticed in the past I've had this plant, this is probably like my third Wandering Jew, and I love it so much that I decided to get it again. But I noticed now that there's not a lot of water, you know, not a lot of water. So you do that, you have an awesome outcome with this plant. All right, moving on here, we have the rubber plant tree. This was also a cutting that I've got from about a 10-year-old plant. This plant has been doing pretty well so far that I've had it. These plants can get pretty big. Beautiful house plants. I believe back in the day, they used to use the sap from this plant to actually create rubber, which is pretty interesting. I'm not sure if they still do it, but that's really nice that, you know, rubber was being created from something so natural and beautiful. Moving on, see this here, beautiful cactus. If you can see here, this is actually my wedding gift from my wife. Let me just move this out of the way so you can see, get a better look. There's been some damages to it, but not so much. The reason you see this here was we tried repotting it, but this plant is really heavy. Beautiful plant. It's about 4.5 feet tall. I've got it here next to this window here. This is actually a northwest facing window. We're actually on the 3rd floor, so this window produces a bright amount of light all day long. But yeah, this is a beautiful plant. Just last night I was doing some research, and I believe with the height of this plant can be about 50 years old, you know, maybe older. But this is interesting to know that I was gifted this plant, and then here you are. This plant turns out to be decades older than I am, so that's pretty fascinating. So here we have another set of collection to our nursery. Let's start with this little guy first here. Beautiful plant. This was actually some cuttings from an older plant that I had. I believe this is the heart-shaped philodendron. Why it's called the heart shape, I believe it's for its beautiful leaves. You know, it pretty much looks like a heart. This plant is also a trailing plant. I'm not sure where it's native to, but I actually just put this here this past weekend, so I'm testing it to see whether or not it'll do well with this bulb next to the bulb. Next to it we have another heart-shaped philodendron. You're probably wondering why the leaves are so big. I actually saw this at Home Depot, and I was like, oh wow, is there like a bigger leaf heart-shaped philodendron? I thought it was two different plants, you know, so I decided to get it. But apparently, the reason why it's such big leaves is because it was growing upwards. So that's pretty interesting. If you have the plant growing upwards, the leaves gets bigger. If you have it trailing down, as you can see here, the leaves get smaller. Maybe sometime in the future, V and I will probably create a trellis for this plant.
No!
Moving on, next to the heart-shaped philodendron, we have the variegated Wonder and Jew, like I mentioned before. This plant, this is probably the second year that I have this plant, so you can see the outcome of this when it's getting right enough light and right enough watering, and you can see what this plant can produce. I believe everyone knows this plant here. This is called the pothos, the golden pothos. Very easy house plant to grow. You know, if you don't have any plants and you want to plant, the first plant that you should get is the golden pothos. As you can see, a trailing plant of mine. This is the second year that I've had this plant, and it's doing pretty well. I believe probably every day or every other day it produces new leaves, so that's very fascinating. Next to the golden pothos, I have a spider plant, but what I did with this pot, I combined both spider plants and it's producing babies even through the winter. So that's it for this part of the house of plants. I think I'm going to create another video and show you guys part 2 of our plants, which is located around the house. Alright, so stay tuned for that one. Alright guys, more to come. Take care.